Hey folks, do you ever wonder what is the difference between dependency and indemnity compensation, or DIC, and survivor's pension? Well, stay tuned. We're going to learn a little bit about both of them today. You lose a loved one who served in the military. You're going through a lot of emotional and difficult experiences, and the financial problems just mount up a lot of times because not only have you lost your loved one, but you've lost that financial stability there also. Fortunately, I guess, the VA offers programs designed to provide financial assistance to surviving spouses and dependents. And we're going to be talking about two key benefits available today, and they are dependency indemnity compensation, DIC, different from compensation, and then there's survivor's pension. Okay, so today we're focusing on surviving spouses and dependents only, versus we've been focusing on the veteran themselves. So we're going to explore both these programs today, their eligibility requirements, and how to apply. So what is DIC? So DIC is a tax-free benefit, money benefit paid to eligible survivors of service members who died while on active duty or died because of a service-related injury or disease. So DIC is intended to provide the spouse and dependents with support of the deceased veteran. So let's look at the criteria, the eligibility criteria. Number one, relationship. You got to be the surviving spouse or child or parent of the deceased veteran. Now, to be considered the surviving spouse eligible for DIC benefits, you got to meet the following criteria. Marital status. You got to be married. You got to be legally married. The spouse must have been legally married to the veteran on the veteran's death. This also includes opposite sex and same-sex marriages, provided that the marriage was legally recognized under your state. The length of marriage. You got to have been married for at least a year. If you were married for 11 months, you don't qualify. If you're married for 13 months, you qualify. Okay? At least 12 months before the veteran's death. Exception to the rule, if you had a child with the veteran, if the marriage lasted less than a year, and you're still eligible, the spouse is still eligible if they had a child together. Okay? Now, this relates to biological or adopted. Okay? Now, what about common law marriage? In some cases, common law marriages are recognized. Here in the state of Georgia, common law marriages are not recognized. Okay? But this depends on, again, look at the laws of your state where you lived. Cohabitation. You've got to have been living together continuously. You've got to have lived with your spouse from the date of marriage until the date of death, unless there's circumstances due to illness and other things. So you can't just be married and then all of a sudden start living separate and apart. I'm married, but one of us lives in this part of town, the other one lives in that part of town. It doesn't work that way. You got to be together. As a general rule, you can't get remarried after the veteran's death, but there are exceptions to that rule. So the surviving spouse must not have been remarried, but if the surviving spouse remarried, but the subsequent marriage ended in death, divorce, or annulment, you may be eligible for DIC benefits. Okay? Check with your rules on that one. There are special cases with respect to remarriage after 57. I don't know why the VA picked 57, but that's the age. If the surviving spouse married or remarried after the age of 57, you're still eligible for DIC benefits. Okay. So, marriages after the veteran's death. And I don't understand how this works because the VA doesn't recognize posthumous marriages. I don't know how you get married to somebody after they've passed, but that's one of the rules. Funny rule. I don't understand it. So let's talk about children. So we're talking about biological children The child must be the biological offspring of the veteran. Adopted children, you could legally adopt the child, not just merely recognize them, but have to go through the legal process of adoption. So let's talk about stepchildren. Maybe you have a stepchild and you haven't adopted them, but they may be included or may be able to receive benefits if they are a member of your household on your death and they were financially dependent upon you when you died. They've got to be under the age of 18 or between age 18 and 23 and still attending school full time. And of course, the child can't be married. If the child's married, then they forfeit their rights to receive DIC benefits. What about a helpless child? If a child is over the age of 18 and permanently incapable of self-support before the age of 18 due to physical or mental disability, they may be eligible for DIC. Now, if a child became permanently incapacitated of self-support before reaching age 18, they can qualify regardless of age. I've got a client whose son became permanently incapable of self-support at age 21. Unfortunately, that child doesn't qualify for DIC. So, and then of course, income from a child doesn't affect their eligibility for DIC because income doesn't affect anybody's eligibility for DIC. So look, each case is unique and is determined on an individual basis. So look, if you think your child qualifies for DIC, you need to go ahead and apply through the VA to receive a formal decision to see if they actually do qualify. So we looked at relationships. So let's look to see if the veteran's death was service-related. It's got to be service-related, whether it occurred in service or because some kind of in-service disease or injury, maybe some kind of cancer from Agent Orange. That's an in-service death, okay? That would qualify. Again, death occurred while on active duty or active duty training or really inactive duty training. So it's got to be resulted from a service-connected disability. So the death was caused by an illness or injury that was incurred or aggravated during active military service. This includes both direct causes and indirect causes, such as maybe like an Agent Orange or toxic burn pit exposure or cart paint, any of those things. Now, there's certain conditions that are presumed to be service-connected. For instance, we looked at the PACT Act and other presumptions. If you were in Vietnam during certain periods and you were exposed to, you're presumed to be exposed to Agent Orange. So therefore, you've got that presumptive service connection, which is a huge benefit. Certain conditions are presumed to be service-connected if they manifest to a degree of 10% or more within a specific time after discharge. And if the veteran died from any of these conditions, it's considered a service-related death. And then the fourth is kind of like a medical malpractice. If death occurred at a VA medical treatment or vocational rehab because of the VA care, then that's considered to be service-connected under the rules. So in all of those cases, service-connected deaths, then the surviving spouse or children or dependent parent of the veteran may be eligible for DIC benefits. And so what happens is the VA evaluates each case based upon medical evidence, service records, and determines eligibility. Again, for spouses, again, the marriage must have lasted at least 1 year or resulted in a child. And I would venture to say that the child has got to be born within the gestation period, if the child's born 2 years afterwards, unless there's some kind of, I've never seen an argument for artificial insemination or anything like that, but I think it'd be stretching it if the child was not born during gestation or immediately after the death. So DIC benefits can help cover daily living expenses, medical costs, other financial needs, and the amount it's adjusted annually based upon cost of living. So that's DIC for spouses and for children and dependent parents of eligible veterans. Okay? So what is a survivor's pension? This is a different form of financial assistance provided by the VA aimed at individuals who don't have a in-service connected disability. Okay, so they don't get compensation, they don't qualify for DIC, but what they do is, since they served during a qualifying wartime period, for instance, of course, World War I, II, Korea, and Vietnam, and the dates for enduring freedom are not out yet. So if your spouse served in the military and was honorably discharged, and you need assistance, financial assistance, with your activities of daily living, if your income is at a certain level, if your assets are at a certain level, then you could qualify for this benefit. For a surviving spouse, that benefit's roughly about $1,400 a month. What are the eligibility considerations? Again, you're going to have a honorable discharge, or you're going to be medically discharged. That's fine too. You just can't have a dishonorable discharge. Your income can't exceed $1,400, but again, income for VA purposes is defined as income less your unreimbursed medical expenses. And there are a lot of expenses that you pay that may not be deductible for income tax purposes, but could be used to reduce your income for VA purposes, thereby qualifying you for that benefit. And then your assets can't exceed a certain amount. Again, there's some exemptions to that. For instance, your house doesn't count against your assets. And then you've got to need assistance with your activities of daily living, feeding yourself, going out and getting your groceries. And we've talked about that before. Going out and getting your groceries, or meal preparation they call it, is a lot of different things. That's planning, getting in the car, going to the grocery store, gathering all your groceries, putting them in the car, checking out, putting them in the car, coming home, putting them all up. All of that is included. So, but if you've got knee issues or back issues and you have to use a cart to get around the grocery store, I mean, you need help with meal preparation. If you can't sit in front of a hot stove and cook a meal, you need help with meal preparation. And open up a can of Campbell soup just don't cut it. And neither does a hungry man dinner, okay? That just doesn't work. Maybe you need assistance with your personal hygiene, and I'm talking about bars in your shower or bars near the toilet. You need some assistance there. Maybe you have arthritis and you can't get the pill bottles tops off. Medication management. Maybe you drive but you shouldn't drive. That could always be something we could use. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. We're not trying to take away your independence. We're trying to form an argument to the VA under their rules now. We're using their rules to say that you need assistance with these things, therefore justifying your aid and attendance pension benefit. That's basically the difference between these two, the DIC and the VA pension. The DIC is not income or asset related, and it has to do with in-service connected injuries or disabilities of the veteran. The VA aid and attendance is an income and asset based benefit that has nothing to do with being injured, but it has everything to do with your service during a qualifying wartime period. Hey folks, thank you for tuning in today. Look, both DIC and pension benefits are vital programs and that provide essential support to survivors of veterans. But hey, check out this video, Veterans Benefits Explained, Disability versus Pension. Gives you a little bit more in-depth view of everything. And until next time, you have a blessed day.